Hi there and welcome back. We're talking about hormones, and today in this video we're going to be talking about DHEA and testosterone. It's not just for men. So here's that hormone cascade, and we first talked about estrogen, the three types of estrogen, E1, E2, and E3. E1, E2 and E3, and how that hormone is really, well, it's our basis hormone. It's what makes us women. It's what gives us that femininity, and it does everything from prevent heart disease to drive our sex desire. Not testosterone, you're going to find out. And then we talked about progesterone, which is a sex hormone also, and that it goes on to make cortisol. Now, some of it does go on to make the other sex hormones, but mostly it's our calming sex hormone, the one that helps us sleep and stay relaxed. So now let's focus on DHEA and testosterone. Okay, you're not going to want to hear this, but every decade, the average person loses 7 pounds of muscle and gains 10 pounds of fat. And that the only way to prevent this is to maintain adequate hormone levels and exercise. This MRI is kind of interesting because over here at the far end, at age 25, all this dark part is muscle. And then age 45, that white stuff you see is the fat infiltrating, and then you see the muscle kind of getting smaller. Look at age 65. So you've got this kind of little muscle and lots of fat. Okay, so again, DHEA and testosterone. And the first thing you need to know is that DHEA, well, I don't know if you need to know this, but it's interesting. DHEA is not really considered a sex hormone. It's not made in the ovaries at all. It is made from cholesterol, just like the other hormones. Here's cholesterol, and everything comes from cholesterol, but it's actually made, excuse me, it's actually made in the adrenal glands, which are two little glands I'm going to tell you about in just a minute, and somewhat in the brain. The other interesting thing about DHEA is that it can convert to testosterone and estrogen, primarily E1 estrone. So here's those little adrenal glands I was talking about. They're tiny little glands that sit on top of our kidneys. That's my cute little dog. Come here, baby. You want to meet her? Come here. Here's Inka. She's my sweet little girl. She says hi. She likes to hang out with us. And she does a lot of coughing. Okay, so here's those cute little adrenal glands, just cute little Inka. And they sit on top of the kidneys, and they're really important because they produce cortisol, and cortisol is the major anti-inflammatory hormone of the body, and cortisol increases in times of stress. Doesn't matter what age, and in all animals, dogs, lions, you've heard it. Cortisol is produced by the adrenal glands, and any time in your life. So here's one of my favorite books when I was a little girl. It's called No Dessert Until You Finished Your Mashed Potatoes. And here's this little girl looking at her plate, and she's feeling pretty stressed out that she has to eat all those mashed potatoes that's in her head. And then, of course, we feel stress all the time. Frequently, right? Okay, so what I want you to notice here is what happens to DHEA when we have elevated cortisol levels. So every time that we have a cortisol spike, our DHEA, so here's cortisol right here, this dark red line, and here's DHEA, and every time we have chronic stress, with chronic cortisol elevation, our DHEA declines, okay? That's not all that happens to DHEA. Well, like all of our hormones that you've been seeing a pattern, DHEA declines significantly between the ages of 30 and 50. So here's age 30, and here's age 50. It's declined 50% between those years. Now, the average 75-year-old over here, well, the average 75-year-old is basically the levels we have at 5 years old. Okay. And at all ages, men always have more DHEA than women and need more. Now, there's lots of very important functions of DHEA and testosterone. There's a couple that DHEA does by itself. One of them is its neuroprotective effects. Now, what that means is it protects our brains and our nerves out in our body everywhere, and it helps support the brain and nerve function. In fact, DHEA is also manufactured in the brain because the brain needs it so much. And it helps keep our blood sugar stable. It helps our cells inside our body take up glucose, and they use glucose to give us energy. That's how cells get their energy. So DHEA helps regulate that. It also decreases cholesterol and plaque formation, and helps prevent blood clots from forming. Now, the rest of the functions of DHEA, interestingly, work hand in hand with testosterone. They work together. And remember how DHEA makes testosterone. In fact, in women, not men, but in women, this is super interesting, is that 50% of the DHEA that we take as a supplement, because it's available over the counter, and 50% of that converts to testosterone. In men, it doesn't do that. It requires very high doses for them to get any conversion from DHEA to testosterone. But maybe that's because they don't need it, right? I mean, they have plenty. And that's what gives them their insatiable, silly behavior, right? But I love it. It's funny. And okay, but we make testosterone too. We make it in the ovaries, and it's very important for us. And yes, the old pattern again. Here we are, female testosterone decline 50% between the ages of 30 and 50. Here's our levels at 30, and here's our levels at 50. Boop. Now, DHEA and testosterone play together all these functions, and that's what we're going to go over now. And the first function I want to tell you is how important both DHEA and testosterone are for our immune system. In fact, men who have much higher levels of testosterone and DHEA, well, they don't get a lot of immune dysfunctions like women get. We are much higher risk of immune dysfunctions than men. And also decreases inflammation and decreases allergic reactions. Women are more commonly affected with allergies. It increases our energy. Have you ever noticed how men do seem to have more energy than us? I mean, really? They do. But it increases our energy. That's why it's one of the important functions of it. It increases muscle strength and muscle mass. I think you know that. Decreases body fat and promotes weight loss. And it decreases bone loss. So important. Estrogen does that too. So estrogen, DHEA, and testosterone all help us with our bones. Oh, actually progesterone does too. So it decreases the risk of osteoporosis. Also supports our vision. And testosterone and DHEA really do support our sense of well-being and our confidence. So I love this cartoon because it's so true. I mean, guys and their high DHEA and their high testosterone, you know, they look in the mirror and they're like, yeah, you know, I'm really hot. And the girl, you know, and, you know, she looks gorgeous. She looks in the mirror and she goes, oh, you know, I don't look so good, right? Okay, I love this because that is so adorable, isn't it? All right, so here's a lady. She's walking in the park and here's a flasher, and she goes, oh, what a thing to show, a lovely widow who lives at 69 Oak Street, apartment 2C. So DHEA and testosterone, yes, do increase our sex drive, but as I told you earlier, not even as much as estrogen. So, if you liked that video and you learned anything new and it was kind of fun, share it with your friends and share it with your family members. You never know who's going to need it and find something good from it. And if you appreciate it, give me a thumbs up. I really love to hear from you. So thank you so much. And coming soon, I got something really exciting to tell you. So introducing young hormones that are going to really knock your socks off. Okay, see you soon. Bye-bye.